Hi everyone, it's Tony Tonkin here. Thanks for being with me. I've got a few things that I want to talk about today in relation to why I'm doing this video, why I'm doing these particular podcasts. And I guess the first thing I want to say is I've retired. Well, I hate to use the word retired in a negative way, but I would like to say that I'm no longer working in the areas that I've worked for the last 30 odd years, and I've now decided that YouTube is my thing. And the reason for that is that I've got a lot more time, obviously, to spend doing this sort of stuff. And I want to do, this particular week, I'm testing out the possibility that I will be able to do this once a day. I'll be, for the rest of this week, doing a live feed such as this, just bringing to you the news as I see it, and hopefully you'll find, for some particular reason, it will be helpful to you as well. Now, there are many things that we can talk about over the week, and of course one of the most devastating things that happened this week was actually the continual bombardment around Brittany Higgins, which is around the allegations in relation to her allegedly being raped by Bruce Lehman. And the fact that this has been weaponised by the Liberal Party in particular in order to have a shot at the Labor Party, primarily because the Liberal Party do not have anything substantive that they can throw at the Labor government in a way which they believe is likely to hurt or harm them. So I think this is a catastrophe at all levels. There's a number of things happening in Parliament at the moment. Right at the moment, the Senate is voting on the referendum, and I will talk a little bit about that in a later feed. That is important. It's significant because it will change the way that Indigenous people are acknowledged and recognised in this country. Way overdue, and but that will pass today, and then we'll be heading towards the constitutional reform. So at the moment, though, I just want to talk about what's happening in the papers during last week in relation to the allegations against Bruce Lehman and the sexual assault that was alleged by Brittany Higgins, and why that has been politicised in the way that it has, and what does it tell us about the government, whereby they are using this particular story, this situation which has happened to this young woman, why are they using it the way that they are in order to attack their opposition? I find it abhorrent. I think the thing that we need to remember is that the person at the centre of all of this is a young woman who had the courage to come forward and talk about the alleged rape that had occurred while she was in a minister's office. In the Liberal Party, by a Liberal Party employee, they both were in the minister's Liberal Party's office, and what that meant for her. And how did she go about expressing what had happened to her? Who did she look to in order to get some support around what had happened to her? Well, it appears that she probably went to Katie Gallagher, because on the Liberal side of things, I guess she didn't think that she was going to be supported by Linda Reynolds, her boss in particular. And so she chose to go to somebody else to have a conversation with them in confidence about what had actually happened. Now, the time period between her making that complaint, or at least going to Katie Gallagher and then going to the police, some time had elapsed. Get all of that. You know, those people that will argue that if a person is sexually assaulted, that they should then go straight to police, do not understand what it's like for women who have been sexually assaulted. That making that decision to disclose it, making that decision to disclose it about powerful men in powerful situations is also another problem. And this is the problem that we have with these allegations in Parliament specifically, and there have been many. And there's now the allegation against Senator Van, which I will talk about later, and how Senator Thorpe had chosen not to take that anywhere, particularly because I guess she felt the same as do most women when they're faced with these particular situations. So another story, but there's a lot of them. And I guess this is my point. The point is, why does this stuff keep happening? Why is it that there are more and more of these allegations coming to the fore over time when the Parliament itself should be a model for all of us about how to behave? I did a video, though, last week on question time in relation to what Susan Lee was saying, or asking questions in regard to, Susan Lee was asking questions in regard to the Brittany Higgins case, and I did a sort of a motch-potch of her question time and what that was like. And the reality is it was pretty shitty that they should raise these issues at this particular time, not considering what this is like for the person who's made the allegation. And I think that it's about time we started to address this particular issue. So I want to take us to some news items, and I'll cover those in relation to all of this. And what does that tell us? And one of the things I think that has come to my mind, which I wasn't aware of, is that Katie Gallagher, sorry, I lie, what's her name? Kimberly Kitching. Now, some of you may or may not remember Kimberly Kitching. We often don't know who these senators are. Mostly, who knew freaking who Senator Van was? I'd never heard of the bastard before, but nevertheless, he does appear as being a serial abuser, allegedly. So, but anyway, so the point about Kimberly Kitching is that she passed away last year, and but she was the one who instigated a report into what was happening in Parliament House as a result of the Brittany Higgins incident, I think, and other things that she'd heard of. So I'll just take us to this particular article. The late Labor senator at the heart of the Higgins saga, this is who I'm talking about, when the late Labor senator Kimberly Hitching received anonymous information in 2020 that cleaners had been deployed after an undisclosed after-hours incident in a federal Liberal minister's parliamentary office. She had a Senate inquiry established to investigate this. Kitching, who died suddenly in March last year, initiated the inquiry into the Department of Parliamentary Services on September the 3rd, 2020, but did not reveal the reason she wanted it. The information she had received did not mention rape or reveal the location of the alleged incident or the identity of those involved. It suggested, however, that the cleaning of Minister's office after an incident may have amounted to the destruction of evidence. Now, this is an argument, I guess, that we haven't actually heard before, but it is significant because if this was a criminal act, which clearly rape is, then why was it that they said about, once they were notified that the rape had occurred in cleaning that office? It contained enough detail to generate concerns about the way the unspecified incident had been handled and prompted Kitching to pursue the matter. New details of Kitching's role emerged this week as Parliament exploded with claim and counterclaim about who knew what and when in relation to the allegations by former advisor Brittany Higgins that her then colleague Bruce Lehman had raped her in 2019 in the office of their boss, Senator Linda Reynolds, an allegation he denies. Labor Senator Katie Gallagher rejected coalition accusations. She misled Parliament over what she knew about the Higgins allegation, and advocates for sexual assault survivors pleaded with MPs and senators to consider the wider impact of their rancorous debate. The issue claimed a coalition casualty. And I guess my argument is that the reality is that these allegations, the continual manifestation of, the continual discussion of, the continual reference to these allegations must heighten the anxiety of the people at the centre of all of this. And then I suppose that includes Bruce Lehman, even though I've got a version of who that man is, and it's probably not a complimentary one, but I won't go there. But it certainly does make me wonder about how this affects Brittany. Now, Brittany herself, I believe, last year was hospitalised as a result of all of these allegations. As someone that works around mental wellbeing issues and has done for many decades, I know that the references to it, the continual dragging it up, the continual re-traumatising that occurs as a result of this behaviour is quite significant. And I feel for Brittany, but I guess my point is many people within Parliament do not. That there's many Labor people who I guess are saying, well, we need to be mindful of all of this. But then we have the Liberal people, the people like Susan Lee and others who keep raising this issue, who keep focusing on it because they believe that there's a political point for them to be won. We get to a point sometimes in our politics, we must understand that regardless of the political point, what we're saying and how we're behaving are damaging people, other people, and that we must be considerate of how this is impacting them. And it just indicates to me that with some politicians, they lack empathy and understanding about how this must be for others. They don't seem to care. They don't seem to be able to put themselves in that person's position and wonder about how that's been for them. They ignore that stuff as if they don't matter, as if other people don't matter. And I guess that what that tells us is that if they're thinking that this doesn't matter, that there are people who are not being considered here, that those people are insignificant, I guess, then what does it say about their attitude towards the people that they're supposed to represent? Those people that are homeless, that have child protection issues, that need rent relief, that are suffering from domestic violence in particular, who are dealing with drug and alcohol problems. There's obviously no ability whatsoever to understand what their experiences are like if they're ignoring how Brittany Higgins must be feeling under these circumstances as well. If at the end of the day, the only thing they want is to focus on what political ground they can gain from behaving in the way that they are. And if that's their sole focus, one has to wonder why in the hell we keep voting them back in. So I also wanted to go to how this is actually played out and how some papers in particular are perceiving some of this. And I'll just read this article. This is from, what's the name? This is from Grattan, I think. And this is in the Conversation. And this is just highlighting, I better bring this up a little bit so you can see it. So this is Liberals come a cropper when they try to dig afresh into the Brittany Higgins story. Now this, to me, this is an important part of this story. Is, did it backfire? Has something happened in relation to the telling of the story from the Liberal Party that has caused it to backfire? Now, last week I actually predicted that this is what would happen, that they were going down the wrong path. You know, it's obvious. Every time you try and attack somebody else for a nefarious gain, so you're trying to gain something from it in an unjust and immoral way, then eventually that's going to come and bite you in the arse. It's as simple as that. And clearly, in this circumstance, this is exactly what had happened. So, two women ended up in tears in the Senate this week as the Higgins imbroglio, lovely word, exploded yet again, and in the process claimed a scalp, the scalp being that of Senator Van, I think. But the scalp wasn't that of Finance Minister Carragher, who was targeted by the Liberals. Instead, it was one of the Liberals' own, David Van, who was banished from the Liberal Party room by Peter Button after allegations from crossbenchers Lydia Thorpe that the Victorian Senator had sexually assaulted her, a claim he strongly denied. And I just want to make a statement about this Lydia Thorpe thing. I cannot stand Lydia. I think she seeks the limelight. She focuses on. I have a thing about saying that people are attention seekers because clearly they've got other issues in their lives that would cause them to want to seek attention. So focusing just on the fact that she's an attention seeker probably isn't all that wise. However, she wants media attention. Let's put it that way. Because that way, I guess it improves her sense of self. From her perspective, it doesn't. It probably damages it in reality. But she needs this sense of acknowledgement as to who she is. There's probably more psychological reasons for that. We won't go into that right now because I don't know. I haven't spoken to her personally. I guess I can't do that. But it is important to understand that when I first saw this, I thought to myself, well, I think that I'm going to have trouble with this because this woman is always seeking media attention. And my first instinct was, is she doing it again? Is this what she's really about? And then I thought, okay, I need to suspend that because I don't know whether that's all that helpful in the light of what she's intending to, or what she's saying. But when I heard what she said, I came to understand that it was more genuine. This wasn't about seeking clickbait or wasn't about seeking some media response. This was about something that was to her was quite real. I mean, I find that her way that she attacks people in the Senate is most inappropriate. She did it today in the debate on the constitutional change, and she does it all the time. She thinks that she has a voice, she needs to be heard, even though it's not her turn to speak or whatever. But she did use this more appropriately in the Senate, I think, to highlight something that Van was talking about, which was protecting women about abuse. He himself, allegedly, is an abuser, and abused her. So in that sense, in that context, she had the right to be able to make this complaint. And she did. And I was able to think, well, okay, this is legitimate. Let's follow through on that. And let's just see from now on, where does that particularly lead? So the Liberals knew their pursuit of Gallagher. The Liberals knew their pursuit of Gallagher for the allegedly misleading Parliament over her knowledge of the Brittany Higgins matter would carry some political risk. Interesting statement, because it certainly did. Where was I? But they could never have imagined there'd be damaged in such a dramatic fashion, seating one of their senators to the crossbench. Who would have ever thought that that was possible? Well, in the end it was. Federal politics, the tone of which has been better than in the last parliamentary term, once again descended into a toxic mire. And that, to me, describes it perfectly. Van's spectacular fall began with Thorpe, formerly with the Greens, on Wednesday shouting interjections when she was speaking about Labor's attack on Liberal women over the Higgins issue and parliamentary standards. She alleged he'd harassed and sexually assaulted her, which he immediately rejected. In a broader set of allegations on Thursday, in which didn't specifically name Van, a tearful Thorpe said, I experienced sexual comments and was inappropriately propositioned by powerful men. One man followed me and cornered me in a stairway. So, and I think one of the things is parliamentary privilege has its advantages. And in this particular case, the advantage was that she could basically say whatever she liked, and she didn't have to verify it, she didn't have to prove it, she could just say it, which she did. And that created this storm around David Van, and as a result of that, he has since left the Liberal Party. And so be it. And then this flows on to other stuff. So to continue on, hope you're still with me. Oh, look, I must say that if you are still with me, please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. And if you wish to contact me, you can do so on this particular email address. So, okay. Where does this go to from here? Well, the situation kind of gets worse. So I'll just take you to this particular news item, and I do hope you're following along because this is fascinating stuff. So this is Liberal Reynolds threatens to sue Tanya Plibersek over Brittany Higgins' comments. So the Liberal senator, now this woman is revolting, to put it mildly. Now, let's be fair, I don't know her, haven't met her, I've seen her, I've listened to some of her speeches, and there's nothing about any of that I like. It doesn't mean she's a terrible woman, it just means for these varying reasons and her political stance, I don't like her, wouldn't trust her, couldn't trust her. No way in the world I will ever trust her. She's not a very nice woman, from what I can understand. Maybe lovely to her family and her kids and her friends, but not very good when it comes to understanding other people's problems, dilemmas, and when it comes to protecting herself from political influence, from political, ramifications, particularly negative ones, I guess. The Liberal Senator Linda Reynolds has issued a defamation concerns notice to Labor MP Tanya Plibersek over a television interview regarding Brittany Higgins' rape allegations. Now, I do need to be honest. I am a fan of Tanya. I think Tanya's fabulous. Not just because of the side of politics she sit on. You know, if someone expresses a genuineness and a caring nature and they have principles and values that align with my own, then I'm more than happy, regardless of the side of politics. I'm more than happy to accept them for who they are. Reynolds, I can't see that. Tanya Plibersek, I can. Now, there are kind of issues about Tanya Plibersek and her partner and the power they play within the Liberal Party and their power and influence generally, I guess. I always put that down as an issue. But nevertheless, my experiences of her have been fine. So, Tanya Plibersek is the one that Reynolds is having a go at. Now, why would she be doing that? Because she sees Tanya as a political enemy. So we must attack our political enemies at every possible turn. So Plibersek, the Environment Minister, confirmed she had received a concerns notice from Reynolds, but also appeared to hint she was considering legal action of her own. Why not? A concern notice is the first step in initiating defamation proceedings. The Australian newspaper reported on Tuesday night that Reynolds had issued the concern notice after Plibersek's appearance on Sunrise on Monday. Asked about claims Katie Gallagher had misled the Senate, Plibersek said this is not the central point here. The central point here is that a young woman, and this is the stand that Tanya's taken all along, and I've heard her in Question Time issue this, regardless of Susan Lee's complete bombardment of her, but this is what she says. The central point here is that a young woman made an allegation that she had been sexually assaulted in her workplace and that had been inappropriately investigated, even covered up by her employers. Hello, who was her employer? Oh my God, I think it might have been this woman. Right, so, but that is the allegation. It's just an allegation, so I don't know why Reynolds is getting her knickers in or not. The Australian reported Reynolds' lawyers had written to Plibersek raising concerns that she had employed Reynolds to act inappropriately and in an attempt to hide the commission of a criminal offence. In a statement to Guardian Australia, Reynolds confirmed that she had issued the notice. I can confirm that yesterday my lawyers issued a concerns notice to Mr. Tanya Plibersek in relation to comments she made Channel 7 Sunrise host Natalie Blah. And I reckon this is splitting hairs. I mean, the allegation was there before. It's been in other newspapers. It's not new. And, you know, I just read something to you just a moment ago from the conversation suggesting that that the cleaning of the office was about getting rid of evidence. So, yeah. So this allegation has not just come from Tanya, I think it's come from other places as well. So Plebiscite confirmed that she received the notice, adding a cryptic comment hinting at the prospects of her own legal action. I received this interesting letter today. As far as I'm concerned, all legal options are on the table. So, to Reynolds. Now, one would have thought that after the Ben Roberts-Smith defamation case and the Bruce Lehman now defamation case against certain newspapers, and the disclosure that is likely to come about as a result of defaming someone should be a path that people should be wary of, because in disclosure, you're going to have to present a stack of information. You're going to have witnesses that are going to confirm or deny your particular position, and that the outcome usually reveals more through a defamation case than it would have just by shutting up. So here they are, both of them, Reynolds in this case, who's just a crazy woman, saying that she wants to attack Plebiscite in this way. Now, the thing to remember too is that Reynolds is in the Senate and Plebiscite is in the House of Representatives. So Reynolds herself doesn't have an avenue to be able to ask questions directly of Plebiscite. She can do that through somebody else during question time. So the battle between these two people will not happen face to face. It will have to happen in a court. And it's interesting to see what might happen as a result of that. So it goes on to say, on Tuesday, the Finance Minister, Katie Gallagher, defended her conduct, telling the Senate that she had always acted ethically and with basic human decency in all matters to do with Ms. Higgins and will continue to do so. And to some extent, that should be the end of the matter here. That should be it. Done, dusted, let it go. But it doesn't, because it continues. So, this is the other. So this is the point I'm making is that this stuff goes on. There's so much happening, swelling around in this quagmire of allegation and counter-allegation and blaming, and no one, it seems, taking responsibility, particularly the Liberal Party, and they keep gushing at the Labor Party, when the Labor Party, ostensibly, were not involved in this in the first place. As I said, this happened in a Liberal minister's office with two Liberal staff members in a part of Parliament House which is managed by the Liberal Party, I guess. So this had nothing to do with Labor. Yet, because it is such an issue and it concerns all of us, and it does because this is about a woman being heard, understood, and receiving justice for what she alleges happened to her. This is important. So Lisa Wilkinson, is also in the shit about all of this. So Lisa has launched an official complaint against the Seven Network over Bruce Lehman's interview. So this is like the other side of the coin. So we now have those people attacking Bruce Lehman, and rightfully so, because I think this man is like, there's some stuff going to be revealed in relation to him, which is going to be a strong indicator that that perhaps he's not the nicest guy on this planet. I'm not going to make any suggestions about whether he's good or bad. We'll work that out for ourselves as more information comes to light. But complaint also relates to mention of a letter allegedly sent to Brittany Higgins to Wilkinson, who claims she has no record of it. So Lisa Wilkinson has lodged an official complaint with the 7 Network about a program that featured an interview with Bruce Lehman about a separate segment on morning television. Wilkinson lodged the complaint on Tuesday, alleging the broadcast breached commercial television standards and can escalate the complaint to the Australian Communications and Media Authority if it is not resolved, her lawyers confirmed. So this is about taking this matter to the media watchdog as opposed to any particular legal avenue. The complaint relates to the Spotlight program shown on 4th of June, featured an interview with Lehman and a segment on Sunday. Now, why in the hell did he do this interview? What is that all about? So it's kind of like I would say it's the Trump syndrome. You know, you try and spout this shit that you believe as much as often as you can, as many lies as you can, and hopefully at some point someone will believe you. But in this case, Bruce Lehman's not running for politics or anything. He's simply trying to clear his name, whatever that means, and probably not doing a very good job of it either. The contents of the complaint are unclear, but lawyers for Network 10, Wilkinson Higgins, who alleges she was raped by Lehman, have raised serious concerns that 7 appear to have improperly used evidence from Lehman's trial in the Spotlight program. The lawyers have raised these concerns with the network, the ACT Director of Public Prosecutions, the ACT Supreme Court, and the Australian Federal Police. Court documents show. The AFP are considering these complaints, but the ACT Supreme Court confirmed on Wednesday that no application had been made regarding the concerns. And of course, then there's this other issue, which is around the way in which this case against Lehman was dismissed, and to what extent was pressure brought upon the Department of Public Prosecution in relation to all of this, and what was the involvement of the police in bringing about that pressure. And then there's allegations and suggestions that Bruce Lehman himself has some pretty powerful friends who may have funded and may have influenced some of the decisions that have been made in relation to the Bruce Lehman case. So as you can see, this whole thing becomes more and more involved. And there is an interesting article in Vic News. Don't know who Vic News are. It's not quite an article, but it is a series of conversations between Senator Cash and Brittany Higgins, and are certainly worth looking at, because there's no doubt that Senator Cash was well aware of what was happening and chose to do nothing about it. And the thing that I've noticed the most is, as I said earlier, is this lack of empathy, this lack of understanding, and the fact that we have politicians, primarily on the Liberal side, regretfully, where, well, I know I mean regretfully, but nevertheless on the Liberal side, whereby we all should be concerned about their understanding as to the implications that and how those the events affect and impact women who have been sexually assaulted. And it went on all last week. So let's see, this is now Monday, so let's see what's going to happen for the rest of this week, and whether or not there will be any significant changes in the House. I suspect that the legislation that's going to be passed by the Senate today will kind of govern question time, but I'll keep an eye on it and just see what else transpires. Now, there's a range of other issues that I want to talk about. There's some child protection issues that I particularly want to talk about at some point. I won't do that now. I'll do another feed in a couple of hours. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, do remember to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. Do what you need to do to receive further notifications, and also could you contact me at this particular email address if you've got questions that you'd like to ask me. If you'd like to participate in any of my shows, email me and let me know as well, and make some comments below. I will respond to them if they're reasonable. Thanks everybody for being here. Take care, look after yourselves, and be safe.